Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Sian and today I've got for you my reading wrap up for April. Now, same with March, I didn't get as many books read as I would normally do. I just find myself having absolutely no time in lockdown. I just seem to be going from one thing to another, to cooking, to looking after the kids, to trying to go for a wee by myself and just not getting any time for myself to do things that I love, like read. I'm literally standing in a room that looks like a bomb's gone off in it, and it was clean this morning. So that's been my life throughout April. So there are only 3 books and I will let you know what they were. So the first book is Thunderhead, which is by Neil Shusterman, and this is the second in the Scythe trilogy. And you'll know that I really enjoy Neil Shusterman's writing. I feel like it was almost a typical second book in that I found it a bit hard to get into and it lacked a bit of storyline in the beginning, but it made up for it and I really enjoyed. So probably like the first third I found a bit like, oh come on, just want to get going. And there were some parts in it that were a little bit ridiculous, but having said that, I did really enjoy it, and I loved getting to know about Scythe Anastasia and how she was getting on in her scythedom. And obviously Rowan has gone rogue, so he is now known as Scythe Lucifer, even though he's not officially a scythe. So he is now kind of going around basically killing any scythes who have very lax morals. So he's going around kind of taking the law into his own hands. Obviously there isn't a law, there is the Thunderhead, and we also are introduced to some new characters in this book and see how the Thunderhead doesn't necessarily know everything. So the Thunderhead is like the kind of main computer that has a hold on the planet, and it knows what everyone's doing, it can watch everyone, but there are some people who kind of creep underneath that. The main new character we're introduced to is Grayson Tolliver, and Grayson is kind of a grade A student. He has always studied the Thunderhead. He has been brought up in a family who kind of adopt loads and loads of kids but don't really like kids, so they kind of have lots and lots of children but don't really know what to do with them, so kind of let them get on with themselves, and kind of he grows up with no real family around him, so he's used to kind of being alone, and the Thunderhead is kind of his only friend. So we meet him and his character is a bit kind of not likeable, but actually his character really grows throughout the book as he faces different trials and tribulations that are put before him. He's left in a very dangerous situation by the Thunderhead and he feels like he's totally been left alone. The book is amazing. It goes along just the most twists and turns ever, and it finishes on one of the best cliffhangers ever. In fact, I don't know why I haven't picked up the third book, possibly because I just don't want to spoil the surprise yet. But it's a brilliant book. I really enjoyed it, apart from that beginning bit that just found a little bit slow. I feel like it's often the way with the second book in a trilogy. We're kind of getting to know the characters again and seeing where they've gone when they're not together, because obviously Rowan and Citra have been together throughout their kind of scythe traineeship. Really enjoyed it, would definitely recommend the trilogy, and I can't wait to read the third book. The second book I read this month I had such high hopes for, and that is Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I've had this on pre-order ever since the release date was finalised. I know it was put back a year, but I was so excited about it. The first book I absolutely loved. I'll leave here a link to the book review that had that one in, but it was just sensational. The writing was incredible. The different world the author Tony Adeyemi is describing is just so, it's just wonderful. It's a fantasy, it's a young adult fantasy, and just the first one was amazing. That was Children of Blood and Bone. This book I was so hyped for, and possibly that didn't help me, but I just felt it fell flat, and it didn't really have kind of a storyline. There were just lots of different fights with lots of different people, and people falling out and people falling in love, but no real like, where is this going? You know, what's happening here? Why are these characters doing this, and what purpose does that serve? And I was just so bitterly disappointed with it, and I don't think it will put me off buying the next one, but I don't know for definite, because I don't know, maybe I have to reread it even though I don't really want to. It just wasn't the kind of book I was anticipating. It does continue the story with Zele, Amari and Inan, and how they've kind of become separated. There are a few plot twists surrounding Inan, but Zele and Amari, it starts with their kind of them gaining their magic and obviously having to say goodbye to their father because they have to kill him. You know, these things happen. So the beginning starts with that, and it kind of thrown back into this magical world, and you're kind of excited about where it's going to go, but it doesn't really go anywhere. There are a few kind of exciting things that happen, but largely I just felt this book lacked. It just lacked. I don't really know what it lacked, but it lacked that kind of buzz that the first book had. I guess because it wasn't new to us, this whole world wasn't new, the whole idea of this magic wasn't new. But I felt that they didn't do much with their magic now that they had it. I don't know. It just didn't work for me, and that made me feel quite sad because I really wanted it to work. The third and final book I read this month is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. And this book is one that I got purely because there was an offer on Amazon. And I know I'm not meant to be buying books, but I was buying one for my daughter, and it was 2 for £7, something like that, and her book was £4.50. So I was like, well, I might as well chuck another one in. And in lockdown, obviously I can't go to the library to get books, so I'm really struggling with kind of books to read. I know I said this last time, there's loads of books behind me, I could read them. But anyway, chuck this in the basket as an additional thing. I really enjoyed it. It's a young adult thriller, and it's set around a murder which happened 5 years ago of a schoolgirl called Andy Bell, and her boyfriend was convicted. Well, her boyfriend was assumed to have killed her. He was then found a few days later appearing to have committed suicide. In comes Pippa, who for her final year at, I guess, high school, so it's like before university, she is doing a project on Andy Bell's murder because she's quite convinced that the boyfriend didn't kill her. So then we go through kind of the whole investigation that Pippa comes out with, which is a really well thought out, really intelligent investigation. She obviously makes some slip-ups on the way, but she's also investigating people she knows, her friends, older sisters, you know, people who she hangs out with and has known since she was tiny. So she's investigating, but equally she doesn't want it to be certain characters. But she basically unveils this kind of complete underworld in her kind of sleepy village, of drug dealing, of all kinds of different things. And obviously I don't want to give away what happens, but it's a really, really enjoyable read. I read it quite quickly. It was something I could just skip through, and it was something that I didn't really want to put down that much. So it was a really enjoyable, good read, and I'd recommend it. That's all 3 books. This month I've made a better start because it's what, the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. And I've already read 1 whole book. So feeling confident I'll get through more than 3 this month. Wish me luck. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Alright, bye.